Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I've got with me Brendan Skilton-Douglas here, and what we've got behind us here is one of his properties. So Brendan is a real estate investor here in Edmonton, and we just thought we'd come here, talk a little bit, and then it's a little windy today and there's a lot of noise around here, so we're going to go off site later and continue the conversation. But first off, Brendan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hello everybody, my name's Brendan, like he said. This is one of my places. I'm excited about what's going on here in Edmonton. I niche down in the real estate market, and I'm doing my best to take advantage of it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the property? How did you acquire it? Why did you acquire it, and what are your plans for it?
I learned the strategy of wholesaling, and I used paper and mailers to canvass this neighborhood. A gentleman called me who was moving away. Out of all those, I got one call, and this gentleman called me, and he had this house for 25 years or so, and it was just his time, and he liked my old school direct strategy, and we had a meeting in the garage here in the back. And he was a smart guy. He knew what he was doing, and he knew what fair price was, and he left a little meat on the bone to make it a fair price. And it was a unique meeting in that he knew how to do the transaction. And so he was favorable, and we purchased it for $261,000 in 2021. That's how we got it.
All right.
I'll also add to how we got it. Once I had it on contract, I knew that it was a good deal. There was equity in the buy. And so from my past training and stuff, I was able to meet and link up with the right partner as a financing partner to join with me to purchase it. So we own it together, money partner, working partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you've had the property since 20.
Yeah, this is the third year.
This would be the third year that you've had it now. And you've had it rented since that for that whole time.
Same person.
Same person. Okay.
Yep.
And how has that gone as far as the property management aspect of it? And what are some things out there for people that are considering this? What things did you run into? Were there any issues that you ran into when it came to the property management aspect of it?
I mean, I have my own stories of property management altogether, but with this one particularly, I'll say that like proper screening with tenants and always having a minimum $5,000 slush fund per dwelling have always served me well to mitigate any unforeseen stuff.
So it's kind of your sleep at night fund.
Yeah.
What I've heard called it.
You know, if a water tank explodes, you can pay for a new water tank with the slush fund and let it build up. So that just gets rid of a lot of that kind of stress. With the property management aspect, upfront screening is key. It seems ridiculous sometimes when you meet people. People are nice. You get along with people. But you have to actually look at the screening and have maybe some difficult conversations to determine if that person is the right fit. And doing that will help minimize horror stories.
Now, do you manage the property yourself, or do you hire a property manager to look after the property here?
A little bit of both, but mostly I manage all my own units because I know how to do it, and I trust myself, and I have the ability to do it, and I'm a little bit better after a lot of experience. So I do it myself, but that's because I'm good at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you get to the point where you were looking at where you got to become a good property manager? So what kind of experience did you have? Property management background?
It's funny you ask because I had some unique. I used to live in Fort McMurray, and on the side of my full-time job, I started my real estate investing journey. And because rent to own was a favorable strategy in Fort McMurray at the time, rent to own, I started doing that. But then I found more people that wanted to sell vacant properties than there were people that wanted to rent to own. So I actually started like a rent to own business and a property management business in Fort McMurray. So all of a sudden there was like 15 doors of other people's that I was just property managing for them. And I learned a lot of stuff quickly in a year and a half up there. And then my mentor gave me a cool tip when I left Fort McMurray and moved down to Edmonton. He actually gave me a cool tip to sell those property management contracts.
Oh, okay.
So I actually sold them for, like 3 months of income worth of property management contracts. Someone paid me for those, which is cool. I would have never thought of that. So that's kind of how I built my experience to property manage and take care of just one good person in a place like this.
Okay. Now, your objective, is that to keep this property long-term, rent it out long-term, or do you have future plans for the property? Are you planning on
Oh,
redeveloping
lots of
it?
plans. I'm big on plans.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of those
Let's
plans.
talk about plans. The future. The future's looking great. I'm doing what I call the surfing strategy.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. The surfing strategy, basically I call it that because it's riding all of the favorable market conditions. You know, I'm not like fighting anything. I've had some strategies that haven't necessarily matched the market. So the surfing strategy, buy, wait, rent, let appreciation and equity do its thing for a little bit, sprinkle some time in the recipe, you know, and then that equity will in turn be enough to pay for an interest on a loan to build, so the property can kind of leverage itself into a small multifamily.
Okay.
And so our plans that are moving briskly and properly are coming to fruition, where this thing is going to be rebuilt.
Oh, okay. And what kind of a property do you have in mind for this? Are you going to build a new house? Are you going to build a duplex here? What's your plans for that? What are you thinking at this point?
To determine the building we wanted, we looked at the strategy and what our desired outcome was going to be. So we wanted to keep it for a long term. We didn't want something to sell. We wanted something to keep. And what are we building here is the question. Deciding what we actually wanted and what the neighborhood is a match for came out to a medium density build here. Not like a whole bunch of new units, not 9 or 10, which the zone may allow, but a comfortable 8.
Okay.
With proper parking and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to overdo it. If you did 10, where would 10 people park? You know, that
right.
Gets kind of crazy. So that's, and the math with cost to value to income, all those factors kind of spat out 8 dwellings.
Okay. And parking is still going to be an important issue. I know that the city here they basically eliminated parking requirements.
Yeah.
Which to some might sound pretty crazy, how you can have no parking requirements. Although, what's some of the strategy behind that? Like, how does that fit into your strategy?
That's a good question. There's definitely people that are like, yay, no parking requirements. And there's people that are like, what the heck, that's crazy to me. And but everybody's right. One, builders aren't going to build things that don't facilitate parking for themselves. If builders make buildings that don't make sense, people won't want them. It won't work. So that's a factor. Like, you know, I just said before in this question, like, we wanted this place to work, a comfortable 8, not some cramming.
Right.
So, you know, we can rely on that. And there's also screenings with site coverage maximums. So there's always going to be some room on the property somewhere. And also in the development permit process, there will be ways to filter through ridiculous cramming plans. A place like this will have 4 garages, 4 off-street parkings, 4, I don't know, and both sides of the street here behind the camera parking. I think that's plenty. That's 8 spots for 8 dwellings and plus laneway and street. I think that's fair.
Okay. And you've got pretty decent access to transit around here.
Oh, sure. The new LRT is on 156. We're on 159. That's 3 blocks away.
So that's pretty.
That was all part of the plan. I'm basing my whole 10 years of this life off basically the Edmonton city plan and the new LRT map. Like the city has just laid out a plan of where they're developing and investing and the areas that they're focusing on and working in. So if you can kind of go within the red lines, it's probably pretty safe, I would bet.
Okay. And so as far as when it comes to building that new structure, what's your timing looking like there? Is there a certain point you're waiting for? Is it funds in place, number of investors? What kind of things are you looking for to proceed?
Not much. We just time.
Yeah.
Time. We just need time to keep moving forward, you know. But, you know, speaking of time, a rough timeline on a project like this, real roughly, I'm going to say, you know, with safeties, I'm going to say 1.5 years for the project. But
that's once you open up the ground.
No, that's what I was going to say. 1.5 years for the project to be like, to look like this, to tenanted, 1.5 years.
Okay.
But the actual building of the structure will only take like 6 months, 7 months. Half of that is, or all the rest of that is managing the project. And a big part of what I'm learning from my mentor currently is that what doing this actually looks like in the day-to-day is just a lot of money managing. So that's the timeline, you know?
Okay.
A year and a half, but 6 months to build. So there's just all this prep. As soon as their sticks are going in the air, it's 90% done. The whole project is 90% done, you know? It's just watching it from there on out.
All right. Now,
More
you've
or less.
got,
Maybe not, but
and you've got other projects aside from this that are, you know, kind of in the hopper, or you've got some that are
yeah,
pretty well underway?
three this year.
Okay.
That's as much as I want to take on this year. I want to make sure that I have, you know, quality over quantity. You know, a lot of people fight for the, I have this many doors syndrome.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I want quality doors. So I have a wholesaling business that I work at, and I'm doing 3 this year.
Okay. And
3 are at the exact same point in the process.
oh, okay. Now the point in the process. What point are those? At in the process?
Hey, remember I said a year and a half?
Yeah.
And 6 months to build. We're probably like 2 months into that first year and a half.
Okay. So to get them sort of to the next stage or to the next level, you've got financing in place for those, or you're looking for financing, or whereabouts are you at?
It'll be a combination of equity, private money, and CMHC insured commercial financing.
Okay. Now, when it comes to getting your, like you said, private financing, where are you going to for private financing?
To private people, to people inside the circle in one arm's length that we mutually know, like, and trust. Yeah, people like to use RSPs, line of credits, or money into projects like this to make a profit. Yeah.
Okay. And so once that goes, so you say it's about a year and a half to get through from looking like this to a fully built structure, to tenanted, 8 units, all fully rented out, and then after that it's just a matter of managing that going forward.
True.
You said you're looking at CMHC financing, and so with some of the CMHC programs out there, you need to hold that property for quite a few years. So are you looking to hold that for 10 years, 20 years, or that's it? Just
term. That's a good question. I was just talking about this at the meeting before.
Okay.
I believe that one of the biggest advantages of the CMHC financing is that it has long 50-year amortizations, which makes the payments low and cash flow good, and low money in. But I believe that comes with a 10-year fixed rate, so you can sell or pay out or refinance in that term, but there will be fees.
There's going to be some costs.
Yeah, just like any normal mortgage. It's like a 10-year fix. Some people get 2-year fixed or 5-year fixed for a rate. So rates are fair now, in my opinion. So 10-year fixed with that type of amortization on this type of property is a match.
Okay.
Is a match.
Looking at the neighborhood here, there is a lot of new development that I see all over the place. It's almost like every block here has some new development on it, new houses, whether they're single family or you've got, especially on the corner lots, you've got some multifamily projects, some fourplexes, or maybe some suited, 4 up, 4 down. Very
similar, medium density, and houses with suites, all kinds of duplexes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're popping up like all over the city here, I've noticed, and so it's a really good. Well, it seems like there's a lot of excitement in the city here right now.
Yeah, a lot of people are moving here. I heard that 203, a little over 200,000 people immigrated into Alberta in 2023. The country's quota is 525,000 people, and Alberta got 200. That's crazy.
That's pretty significant, and it's even hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around those numbers, that Alberta on its own got 40% of the immigration quota.
Right. Right.
But for a population of about 4 million people, 4.5 million people.
Here's to make some more sense of it. 200 people moved to Alberta from within Canada and outside of Canada. But when Canada's talking about their immigration quota, they're just talking about the whole country from outside of Canada. So that helps the numbers skew, you know what I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. But either way, there's a lot of people coming here.
Yeah.
And the economy's doing well here. There's other parts of the country that are, they're kind of soft right now. You look at other parts of North America, even they're kind of soft. Alberta's doing well. Oil prices are doing well. We've got some favorable taxation here.
Yeah.
So it's a lot
massive
of
projects are going on.
got some big projects.
Leduc, Blatchford, Fort Sask. What is it called in Fort Sask? The plant.
Oh, the
Everyone knows watching. They're like, it's
everybody's
this.
watching. It's
Say
the Dow.
this.
I think the Dow chemical plant.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a $10 billion upgrade project.
Right.
I'm off on my numbers, but it's
Fort Saskatchewan
pretty significant project.
real estate is taking off right now too.
Yeah.
I did a deal there in January. That was 2 months ago, and a gentleman did quite well. It was this big single-family house. He bought it for $375,000, and he put in $10,000 of paint, $12,000 of flooring, light fixtures, and sold it for like $480,000. It's a nice amount.
Well.
It's a nice.
Did well.
That's a good little flip,
Yeah.
I think. You know. Anyways,
All right.
Fort Sask, Edmonton market.
Well, you know what? We've got a little bit of noise going on in the background
Yeah,
here.
we
We've got construction work going on, which
Yeah.
is a good sign of things. So that's good. We're also going to get out of the wind here a little bit. So why don't we take the conversation somewhere, and we'll have a nice little quiet chance to continue the conversation here,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there. But in the
Okay.
meantime, I'll get you to show me around here a little bit, and then you
Sure.
can tell me a little bit more about the property itself.
Okay.
All right. We'll continue this right away. All right, so we're back from the house. We were just talking about what you've got planned for. Looked at some drawings, but I want to go back to how you got started. Why did you get started into real estate? How you got interested in it? What's your story there?
What's the story? Okay, I'll try and keep it brief because I've been known to jibber jabber. But in my 20s, I was a professional tree climber. I worked in the forestry industry. And by the end of it, I was running a small company that contracted to BC Hydro.
Oh, okay.
Through that experience, I got hired for a government job in Fort McMurray, being a manager of a public operations department. So like urban forestry, turf grass, horticulture, sports fields, trails, that kind of thing, because of my experience. When I was 30 years old and I got this great government salary job, I remember I was driving down Thickwood Boulevard, and I was like, so is this what I'm doing now for the next 30 years? You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a great job, but like, is this it? Like, I had a management position in the government. It was like, you know, manager, director, and then council. Like, there wasn't far to go, but it was a great job, and I was super grateful. So anyways, I needed to figure out how to get rich. I needed to figure out how to get wealthy. I had an absolutely gorgeous, drop-dead new wife, and I need to make sure that I peppered her in shoes and a wonderful life. So I started looking into financial education, and that just led me to World Financial Group. They're kind of an insurance brokerage organization,
Right.
and I learned a little bit about finance and a little bit about business operations. That kind of introduced me to insurance, which I didn't want to do, but my wife went into insurance. And then I cut down a tree for a gentleman as a favor, and in return, he gave me 2 books. He gave me Think and Grow Rich, and he gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he also gave me 2 tickets to a real estate seminar.
Oh yeah.
So I plowed through 2 books, and I went to the real estate seminar. The real estate seminar was Stefan Arnio in Fort McMurray,
Okay.
promoting his training, but also giving real estate education. It was a 2-day program. And I remember him saying in the program, you know, 1% of the people in the world are rich, 5% are well off, and everybody else is middle class. And so he counted the room, and there was like 38 people, and he was like, okay, so that means 1.5 of you are going to be rich, 3 of you are going to be well off, and the rest of you probably will be like, this is a good weekend, and won't do anything about it. And so at that moment, me and my wife looked at each other and said, we're that 1.5, and we made a lifelong commitment. And we took what little we had saved up for a down payment for a house, and I spent it on real estate education to teach myself the skills I needed to do this career. I knew nothing. I made a commitment. Over the next 3 years, I flip-flopped through a lot of experience. I was the mortgage holder for another real estate investor in Saskatchewan. I did a couple flips in Edmonton from Fort McMurray. I did an accidental burr, where I bought a house to flip, failed at it, refinanced it, stuffed a renter in there, paid my investors back, and was like, oh, what a fail. And then I'm like, wait a second, I still have a property.
Yeah.
And then I started a rent-to-own business in Fort McMurray because that was the strategy that fit the market.
Okay.
And I did 6 rent-to-owns in Fort McMurray. And then through the rent-to-own program, I started a property management business. And now I'm doing all of this, plus a full-time job and a new baby now. And so I got my next mentor, and they were telling me I need to niche up and consolidate. I need to figure out what I'm doing. And I'm generally a risk-tolerant person. So I got into 3 new flips in Edmonton, and I quit my government job and moved from Fort McMurray to Edmonton to go full-time. Win or lose, I burnt the ships.
Did you ever? Yeah.
I burnt the ship.
With a wife and a family.
With a wife and 1 daughter.
Oh, okay.
And I had a supportive wife. My wife believed in me. And she was making a little bit of money with her insurance stuff and working on getting her own insurance broker license. So she had some income, and I was doing okay with real estate, so we quit the job. And then in the first year, it was a reality check of what it's like to work for yourself. There's always a learning curve. I sucked the first year. The second year, I did really good. And the third year, I did better. The fourth year, I did phenomenal. The fifth year, I did better than I ever have done. And here I am entering the 6th year of the full-time real estate investor.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. There's my story.
Wow.
From free climber to Brewster's Pub with a microphone on my collar.
What would you say would be the hardest thing about switching from government job, very secure, to going onto your own?
Your mindset.
Okay, so yeah.
Straight up. It's super cliche, and it's annoying because everyone wants, like, how do you do it? How do you do it is you need to make sure your mind is prepared to take you through the highs and lows of the jungle. There's highs and there's lows. The highs outweigh the lows, which is why everyone does it, and it's awesome. But you need to be prepared for the lows. They will come, and if you give up on the lows, that's where people fail. Persistence eliminates failure, so you need to have the mindset skills to keep you invested into a successful outcome, come rain or shine, hail, snow, sleet, whatever they say.
What would be, if you're comfortable saying, what would you give it as an example of what some of those lows were like?
Deals falling through. And you know this too, but lots of real estate, you have to really stick your neck out for potentially humongous profits. But it's a business, and not everything works out 100% of the time. Nobody bats 1,000. Some things don't work out. And sometimes when you put a lot of anticipation, energy, relationship, and humans have this habit of pre-spending money that we don't have yet. I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to do this job, and then I'm going to use that money to do A, B, and C.
Right.
So things fall through. You can never predict human emotion factor. Things fall through, and you need to be okay with that. And you need to always be okay with, like, things blowing up. And you know, like, you deal with something and it's difficult and it's uncomfortable. But then next time you deal with it, it's easier, and you have a higher threshold of what you can deal with.
All right.
So you need to focus and listen to all those cliche mindset books. And I'm going to say Think and Grow Rich, because it's not about thinking and growing rich. It's about the psychology around understanding how to persist to it. But I would say the biggest hurdle, the biggest skill you need is like the mindset to get to the highs and lows. And an example of the lows are when deals that you're far invested in fall through. That's a bummer. And one of the benefits, though, is that you can do a lot of time and energy in real estate without money. It's not like if they don't follow through, you lose a lot of money. You can invest a lot of time, effort, and mental energy, and then deals not come through, and it just be like, it's soul crushing, and it makes you want to quit. But if you have the mindset to be able to pick your ass up and keep going, I believe that's where the real victory lies.
Now, on those victories, the victories that make those low points worth it, what's an example of where
victory, knockouts, sure. I'm a wholesaler. I'm a professional wholesaler. I'll give you an example of wholesaling, and then I'll give you an example of, like, the property we talked about today.
Yeah.
An example of wholesaling is that everybody has a conversion rate. Business has a conversion rate. Not all work out at the time. My job is to go through so many leads that I find good ones. Some are good, some are bad, some are great. So sometimes when you stumble across those great ones and people are agreeable and everybody's happy, I found through my canvassing in the neighborhood, a different neighborhood, I found a gentleman who was selling his house. It was his mother's house. He passed away. The family was quite well off, and the son was quite well off. And when his mom passed away, he was going to the house finding insurance policies, life insurance policies he didn't know she had. So he was essentially laughing to the bank with this house and all this stuff. And so when I offered him on the house, he was like, I just want to sell this house for a fair market value, and you're going to give me my dates. I just need this house gone. So he gave me just under fair market value because he didn't need the money. He needed the house gone, which is just a matter of filtering through a lot of different leads. And so he signed up the property for a certain amount. I'll tell you the amount, like $345, and renovated that property would have been worth like $700,000. It was a good gap, and it was probably worth $425 as it was. So there was a nice discount there. And I knew a flipper who was looking for a flip. So I made one phone call and was like, dude, I got this property. And he's like, how much is it? And I was like, $390. And he's like, oh, that's a great deal because $700,000 is my after repair value. That's a $300,000 margin. Renovate for $100,000 and he's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
So I had that thing signed up with an assignment within like 2 hours. And then I had to wait 4 weeks. And it was like a $45,000 payday. It worked out to be like $10,000 an hour. You know, that was a good one.
Yeah.
And those don't come around often. But heck, if you got the skills to go fish around and you only get 1 or 2 of those a year, you're still looking pretty good.
I know for a lot of those deals where you totally don't make anything on.
Exactly, exactly, and it makes up for all those kind of blown up deals. Right. Another good example is after a long time, being able to give enough and having enough experience, I've had joint venture partners approach me inquiring to invest in real estate. And that is just very flattering and humbling when there's incoming leads instead of asking everybody all the time. When somebody comes in and they know it works and you're proven and they say, yes, I'd like to do this. And I say, this is the parcel of land to buy. And they throw down and say, I trust you, let's do this. Those are good wins too. Raising capital is always just good trust building stuff. That's another win. Because then you get experience by watching videos like this to raise your knowledge so that you can explain this kind of stuff to other people. And there are people out there that want to invest. There's more people out there that want to invest in real estate than there are people that have the ability to provide the actual returns that real estate can. So it's a win-win.
No. Now, when you're going through your day-to-day business, you've got to have some kind of and you talked about mindset.
Sure.
And your vision and all those things, the things that they talk about, the thing Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
All of those things in mind. What's part of your vision that drives you?
What's part of my vision that drives me?
We're going to get into this deep stuff here. So
that's okay. I'm a family man.
Yeah.
I love my wife a lot, and my kind of vision is to spend as much time with my girls as possible. And I know it's cliche, family, but that's really what I'm trying to do here. I don't care about tenants and toilets. I like what it lets me do. And even now already, I go to a ton of field trips. I was the parent that volunteered the most in my daughter's kindergarten class. And all day Friday and 2 days, I'm just spending the whole day with my wife because I feel like it. And that's the type of vision that I want to continue on through doing self-business and working for myself and doing creative stuff like you're doing.
Yeah. Before we wrap up here, I just want to get one last thing from you.
Sure.
One piece of advice you would give to somebody starting out.
It's a great question. And I don't want to discourage anybody. One, I would say persistence eliminates failure. You will suck at the beginning. Own it. Suck. Go up to other people and be like, I suck. Teach me this. Help me. You suck. It's the people that start in the first year and expect to be the God's gift to whatever you're trying to do. Well, it doesn't matter. Embrace the suck is a piece of advice I give to somebody starting. Persistence eliminates failure. And if you don't have a bunch of funds to invest in real estate physically, it is worth it to invest in education. If you can learn a skill that no one can take away from you, you can implement over and over and over and over, that's priceless. And some of the real estate knowledge skills are expensive to learn. $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 courses. There's $10,000, there's big ones. And those numbers can be scary to beginners. But I would say take some kind of education leap somewhere. However, that whatever you feel that you can chew off some kind of education component, and you will only be further ahead toward doing it better.
You might also add into that too, just the importance of building relationships, which taking some of that education, you're going to meet people, meet like-minded people.
Yeah.
That along the way you build some relationships with, start doing business with, or just even learn from each other.
Yeah, and that's something you can do that's easy and free, is literally just talk to people. Hey, what do you think about this? See what they say, and just accumulate an idea from what other people's opinions are.
Yeah.
That's what experience is. Just all of a sudden, you're 5 years into it, and you know a lot of stuff. Beginners just don't know anything. Just know something.
Go get started.
Talk to somebody. Go to a meetup. Watch a podcast like this or a video or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
Learn something. That's where you start.
Terrific. Well, Brendan, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time. For your time today.
Good question.
Great meeting. And if folks have any questions for you, they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm a real person. I have my phone attached to my hip all the time. Call me. You can email me if you want to dabble around or whatever, but if you really want to talk, I'm a yes man. I'll talk to you for a minute.
And we'll put that information in the description so you can get in touch with Brendan.
Sure.
Brendan, want to thank you again.
Yeah, that was good.
Pleasure.
That was good.
All right.
This guy knows his stuff. That was a good question. That was a good question.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in again. I'll see you on the next show. In the meantime, you all take care, and bye for now.